So this goes back 8 years in time or so. I had just joined a big multinational pharmaceutical company. And to be honest with you, I don't really know why I went looking for a new job in the first place, instead of doing something radically different, that is. Because for quite some time, at least a few years, I had felt that something was off. I lacked motivation and genuinely felt I was being pushed around. I was quite upset that someone else like my employer controlled my calendar to the extent that they did. I had been in and out of maybe 7 different jobs in quite a short time span. To some degree, this new job felt like repeating a formula that I knew wasn't going to work. Anyway, in the first couple of weeks of going to my new job, I of course got introduced to the company's corporate values and guiding principles. And something quite astonishing happened. In one of the booklets they provided, there was quite an extensive text with the headline that really intrigued me. It said, "Create your own dream culture." This was something that the company prompted its employees to take care of and work on as part of their employment. When I first saw it, I said this out loud to myself. Wow, create my own dream culture. I mean, that really sounded amazing to me. I'm pretty sure that my interpretation of what this meant wasn't the one that my employer was hoping for, because it got me thinking, how do I construct my normal day so that it gets me right into that dream culture of mine? A few months went by, I pondered, I reasoned with myself, I made lists on things I wanted to achieve. And once I had made my mind up on what was my dream culture, it became evident that an employment with this company wasn't part of my plan going forward. Instead, I thought, well, how about a mix of work and passion to begin with? I mean, I gotta have some sort of income while I follow my passion. And how about a 50-50 split between the two? Now, in my books, that didn't mean 4 hours of work and 4 hours of passion. Because to be quite frank, there is more than 8 hours to spend on any given day, at least in my calendar. So I quickly connected my passions, which are golf and writing, with clear goals. And then I started jotting down what I thought would be necessary in terms of activities to reach those goals. And I did the same thing for work. What would my dream workday look like? For one, I knew I wanted to go into consulting. And I wanted to work with like-minded, forward-looking people, always striving for excellence. So I had a plan, I had a set of ideas, and I had goals. This filled me with tremendous amounts of energy, something I hadn't experienced in a long time. The only remaining question now was, how do I pull this off? Surely that's going to be the tricky part. How would I be able to gather enough courage to just walk out of the door that had just been opened for me? How would I be able to finance myself? It wasn't exactly like I had a money is no object kind of situation at the time. I had read somewhere that if you want to achieve something and need discipline to go with it, then a good idea might be to hold yourself accountable in some way. So I said to my wife, I'm going to quit my job this week. I mean, how much more pressure than that can you put on yourself? I remember she looked back at me with a dead serious face and said, "You go right ahead, darling. That's going to work out fine. And in case it blows up, I got you covered." Let me tell you, although it made so much sense to follow this new path that the concept of dream culture had led me in on, and even though I had the undying support of my wife, the following 2 days, from when I made up my mind until I handed in my resignation, they were among the worst I have ever experienced. These 2 days, they sent me off on a roller coaster for sure. My brain kept sending out worrying signals that my decision was a historically bad one. Suddenly I could hear some sort of inner voice speaking to me. It would send out very small and subtle seeds of hesitation and doubt, and I was doing the exact same mistake that I had done in the past. I took those seeds and planted them in my cognitive thinking process. Not long after that, I started building sentences of disbelief in my own mind. I was questioning every single aspect of my ideas, my dreams, and my own abilities and skills. It sounded something like this. That plan of yours, it's not going to work. Do you really have the skills? What if this happens? What if that happens? How do you think you're going to pull it off? Are you sure that you have what it takes? There's quite a big risk that this turns into one fine mess. But this time around, I was fortunate because I recognized the inner voice and the pattern that it projected on me. I knew this had happened to me before, and in the exact same way. It used to come about in situations when I was about to make changes or confront something new. I recalled that I had even been so frustrated with the whole thing that I used to laugh at myself whenever these thoughts of doubt hit me, like it was some sort of joke. In most cases, previously in my life, I used to give in. I used to listen to the threatening sound of whatever uncertainty, risk, problem, pitfall, hurdle, difficulty, obstacle and barrier that it presented to me. And then I would just fold, give up on my ideas, my dreams, only to go back to the exact same place that I was coming from. I mean, when that inner voice hammers on you like that, it's easy to think that my brain, my risk-averse brain, knows best. That whatever it puts out there, it's got to be the God Almighty truth. I used to think that my brain had some sixth sense that no one else had, that I should be blessed I didn't make that decision, follow that dream, and so on. That's how messed up things were. But in that instance 8 years ago, I changed my attitude towards it. Instead of doing what I had done in the past, I now asked myself, why are these warning signs showing up right now? And then I realized, probably because I had experienced these things so many times before, that it's only natural for my brain to start affecting me this way and have me shaking in my boots, so to speak. My brain, just like your brain, is designed to warn me whenever there is possible danger. It's the most eminent capability of the brain. It sends out signals that will have us all understand that there are dangers out there. So the brain likes to show me the risks. But when it does that, it's now also very clear to me that it doesn't weigh in any of the potential good my ideas or dreams can create for me. In fact, it's not that interested in the opportunities or the upsides at that point. When I'm in that specific situation, it's only concerned with survival and bringing me to a secure place. Recognizing this pattern has made me think it's the most natural thing, and I welcome it, because without it, I would be lost. Just as sure as I'm breathing, just as sure as I'm blinking with my both eyes. It's an automatic reaction triggered by functions in my brain that I cannot control. But here's the good news. I can't control the reaction as such, but I can control how I feel and think about the thoughts that the reaction creates. And if I do that, if I try to break these bits of hesitation and doubt and the warnings of danger down to something more balanced, I now understand that they are not a receipt specifying the quality or the strength of my ideas or dreams. In fact, they have very little to do with my aspirations and my potential. And that it works this way became very evident to me in the time that followed my decision to quit that job and go do something quite different. Because now, 8 years later, I can only conclude that the dream culture that I created back then was one of the best things that I have ever decided upon. It has freed me from a mental cage that I feel I was locked into. It has given me the possibility to chase my passions and dreams. And it's given me one of the most valuable things I could ever ask for, the freedom to choose for myself and make my own decisions. I resisted the hesitation and the doubt. I pulled it off. And I did that, even though my brain was giving me a couple of hundred valid reasons every single day for why it would make perfect sense for me to just throw my dreams and ideas in the bin. And when I look back on this moment in time, I now understand that it is so important to remind myself again and again and again of how this process works. It's absolutely necessary to control and manage that inner voice if I am ever to achieve the things that I have set out to achieve. I want to tell you this story because maybe you too have things you want to achieve, things you want to do, dreams you want to chase, but somehow you don't. And if the reason for why you are not going after these things with all of your power has anything to do with the hesitation that the inner voice, your brain, is creating for you, then remember that your brain will always react this way. It will always present risks and dangers to you. It will have you look for security. Put it crudely, in a way it doesn't want you to succeed. So I would say to you, if you are up against the hesitation and the doubt, go on, Listen to that inner voice, respect the process. Don't try to silence it, don't fend it off. Take note of the dangers it presents to you. Make sure you plan for ways to mitigate the risks and ways to avoid uncertainties. The most responsible way in which you can deal with your brain's signals is to figure out ways to tackle the dangers it portrays to you. But there is absolutely no point in giving up on your ideas. Just because you might be picking up some slightly negative vibe, don't stop chasing your dreams. Keep pushing, keep working hard, be courageous. I say you've got to be persistent. You've got to be ready for the struggle, and you got to push through all the way. Even on those days when you don't have the energy, when you don't see the idea as feasible anymore, or when your dream seems very far away indeed. Because those days will come. The brain is one hell of a mystery if you ask me, and sometimes it will play tricks on you, tricks you cannot even begin to imagine. And that's why I say it's a struggle. There's an African proverb that I think sums this up quite nicely. If there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. I wish you the best of luck in chasing your dreams.